Hey guys, how you doing? Just a relatively short video today, or that's at least what I intend it to be. It never works out that way. But this one's just to give you a little bit of an update onto what I've been up to, why I've been quiet on the channel over the last few weeks, what's coming up in the world of Formula One, because I thought this might be a quiet spell, which is why I've been focused on a lot of other stuff right now, which I'll explain in a minute. But actually there's been quite a lot going on in the background of Formula One. Announcements, sort of launches, rebranding exercises, talking points around all sorts of stuff. So we're going to get into that too. But just quickly, this is why I haven't been on the channel. I've been busy. You may notice I've got a new microphone here. I know, very fancy. But the reason I've got that is because over the last few weeks I've been working on a new podcast. Lots of you have asked me over the years about doing a podcast. Well, it's happening. And it's not just going to be putting my existing videos into podcast form. This is a definite standalone podcast around a very specific subject, obviously centered around Formula One. But I hope you're going to really enjoy it. I'm excited about it. I've been planning this for a while. Been tweaking it. I actually recorded the first episode the other day, which I'm pleased with and happy with. I'm going to record a few episodes so I can launch them all together. So keep an eye out for that. Of course, I'll let you know as soon as we're closer to that happening. What else has been happening with me? I've been preparing for the start of the big Wheeler Dealers project, which for me is huge. And we start filming in a couple of weeks' time. Massively excited. But there's been a bit of prep around that, quite a lot of prep. But it's getting really close now. So that's going to be full on when it happens. It won't stop me being active here on YouTube. I fully intend to continue that because this is my first love. This is what I love doing most of all the things that I'm involved with. I promise you, it's engaging with you guys. So that's carrying on. I've been working on the SeedStream app. To those of you that have used that in the past, I hope you'll be excited to hear that we've got a brand new product coming very soon. Ollie and I, my business partner, have brought somebody else on board, somebody very experienced in this field to help us launch a new product. There's a little sneak peek of something like what it's going to look like. So a new version of what we were running before, but much more advanced, much more usable, much more easy on the eye. And I think you're going to really enjoy it. I'm very excited about what we can bring to you. And that will be launching ahead of all the new car launches and pre-season testing. So it's close. So if you haven't yet signed up to SeedStream, keep an eye on the channel. I will, of course, let you know when it's available in all of the app stores. If you are an existing user, I hope you're going to find that there have been some dramatic improvements. And if they are improved, it's because of you. Your feedback, your user interaction over the first year or so of us launching the SeedStream app has been invaluable. So thank you. So keep your eye out. This is coming very, very soon. On top of that, there's one other project that I've been involved with, which you may remember I'm involved in an Australian company that produced a graphene-based cooling fluid for the automotive sector. So for road cars, but also been testing it in Formula One and Formula E projects as well. Well, that's going on great. It's still ongoing. But we've also launched a product recently around cooling gaming PCs. So liquid-cooled gaming PCs at the very upper end of pro gaming, way beyond my league. But I'm realising now that at that top end of gaming, people are using liquid-cooled PCs because temperature can really limit the performance of your machine. And we've developed this graphene-based cooling fluid for your gaming PC, which can really lower the temperature and therefore get you more performance from whichever hardware you have. So a really exciting area that I've been learning so much more about in recent weeks and months, and we've brought that to market recently. So it's called Go Chiller, something very exciting, and I will probably talk more about it on the channel as we get further down the development path. But that's why I've been really busy. I thought this would be a quiet spell, but as I said before, lots going on, so I want to cover some of those things. The live stream. Lots of you asking, when's the live stream coming back? I promise it's coming back. I haven't got an exact date yet, but I'm going to guess within the next couple of weeks because momentum is building around Formula One. So keep an eye on the channel. I will let you know as soon as we're ready to launch that. 2 or 3 weeks probably. Still on a Monday night, still at 9 p.m. We will get back to that and I can't wait. Let's talk about the F1 calendar because there have been changes, of course, from the one that was ratified just a few months ago. Inevitable, perhaps. Great that Australia has been shuffled further up into the calendar and not cancelled because that's an amazing event, and for them to lose 2 events on the trot would be a huge blow. to them. So I'm really pleased that that's found a slot. I'm excited about that. And in November, the weather should still be great. We should still have a great event. And hopefully the world's in a different place by then. Interestingly, I was talking to my colleagues in Australia at Flexigraph just yesterday, and they know that down there they've got the virus more or less under control within their own borders. So do they really want to let a whole bunch of foreign Formula One circus people who've been travelling the globe to come in and pose a risk like that? And that's one of the biggest question marks that Formula One has to face this year. There were some questions about whether Formula One might actually try and, behind the scenes, get the entire circus vaccinated ahead of the 2021 season. They've actually come out and denied that, but as we know, that doesn't always mean that that's the case. But there's some interesting talking points around that. I actually don't think this is going to happen because I think it's too much of a risk, but if the entire Formula One community was vaccinated, it would, in theory, allow them to travel the globe much more freely, allow countries to allow them in, to allow them to move more freely, and therefore allow a calendar to operate on a much easier basis. But of course, the huge risk of that is that if you vaccinate an entire community and then at some point somebody contracts the virus, what does that say to the rest of the world about this global vaccination process that everyone's pinning their hopes on? So for all of those risky reasons, I can't see it happening. There are economical reasons, there are also ethical reasons why I can't see that happening. But it's an interesting talking point. Lots of people wondering whether that's going to happen within the Formula One community. Anyway, one of the upshots or knock-on effects of the calendar changes are that testing has moved from Barcelona to Bahrain. It's been moved back a week. That also gives the teams essentially a little bit more time to develop and build and produce their cars. And that's valuable time at that time of year. Even just a few days will be massively appreciated by the teams because it's just an extra couple of days of producing the components, fine-tuning things in the factory, getting things right, producing more components, spares that could be ready for the start of the season. So I think that's a welcome little delay at this time of the year for the Formula One teams. Car launches in the same way. Lots of people now just launching at the pre-season test. Now that it's in Bahrain, which of course makes total logistical sense that we test now at the racetrack where a couple of weeks later we will be racing. It saves on a huge number of logistical costs, which makes sense. But the launches also will be pushed back by some people, again giving them a little bit of extra time. We've got to talk about Lewis Hamilton's contract, or lack of it. He is an unemployed Formula One driver right now. And that's interesting. I still don't think it's panic situations at Mercedes or for Lewis Hamilton. And I fully still expect him to be in the car by the first race. But there's definitely some major sticking points. I'm not one of these people that buys into internet rumours about somebody claiming to know that he wants an extra couple of zeros on the end of his salary, or he wants a free car or whatever. How on earth does somebody know that? These are private negotiations, unless somebody specifically leaked that, which I find very hard to believe at this point. So I fully expect, that to come to a successful conclusion. But it is definitely interesting that there are clearly some major sticking points that they're finding it a tough challenge to overcome. However, I do think they will overcome them, and I do think we'll have Lewis Hamilton still racing a Mercedes in 2021. Red Bull and their engine. Red Bull and Honda, we fully now expect to continue the relationship in some way. And that means that Red Bull can continue to use the Honda engine beyond 2021. Not perhaps badged as a Honda, not with full Honda support, certainly not with Honda financing, but definitely using the technology, perhaps with a third party, to enable them to continue to do that. The sticking point has always been that Red Bull don't want to commit or can't commit to a full development program of that engine or power unit throughout 2022 and beyond. And so they want an engine technical freeze brought forward to enable them to use the engine but not have to spend resource on developing it. Now that makes a lot of sense, financial sense for a lot of people. But actually some people are more for it than others, naturally. Mercedes, who have an advantage anyway in that area, are quite happy to lock in the technology. Whereas somebody like Ferrari, well, it makes not a lot of sense for them to lock that in right now, does it, when they're struggling? Albeit with a brand new engine coming for 2021, which may bring them back up the order. So now they're looking for a means of balancing performance. If one engine manufacturer should fall a long way behind the others at the point where they lock in the technology, they're looking for a means to try and find ways to catch up, to allow them to spend some developmental tokens, for example, to bring their power unit up to spec with the others, to enable a competitive field. Also makes some sense. And we now believe we're very close to an agreement on that happening, which will allow that Honda and Red Bull relationship to continue. We don't know what it will be called. It probably won't be called a Red Bull Honda anymore, but we'll find out. A new name for that power unit coming, I'm sure. Great to see the virtual GPs are back. Only 3 of them this time around, and slightly different because last time the online F1 esports was thrown together out of necessity when there was a lack of real-world racing. Well, this time there is real-world racing, and the virtual GPs will fit in around that, which might have a different impact on who's willing to commit time to taking part from the current F1 driver community. It might mean we get a mix of older drivers, retired drivers, former drivers, celebrities, and maybe the odd F1 driver who just can't stay offline. We'll see. And the last point I want to talk about is the difference between 2 big rebranding exercises in the world of Formula 1. Aston Martin and Alpine F1 team, formerly Renault, of course. 2 very different case studies on how to do it, essentially. They've both known this has been coming for some time. Aston Martin have launched a really kind of cohesive, slick brand campaign across social media and the wider media, rebranding the colours, the team's factory, got a new driver, of course, a really kind of well put together and slick strategy from the marketing team. And that's a really interesting way to do it. I mean, that's the natural way you'd expect a Formula 1 team to do it. It doesn't affect how the car will perform on circuit, but they're a team that are on the up anyway, and we would hope that momentum they've got over the last season or so can continue under the branding of Aston Martin. It will be great for the sport. But on the flip side of that, Alpine F1 kind of rebranded. Essentially, they are officially rebranded on the 1st of January, but just this week did a bit of a media soft launch, if you like. But from that media event seemed to come more questions than answers. We got an interim livery on the car, black livery, that's all fine. We'll get the full livery when they do the official launch. But Cyril Abiteboul, mysteriously gone from the entire Renault organisation, all of a sudden without prior notice or warning. I mean, yes, you can look at his results and say, well, it's perhaps expected. He hasn't performed to the level to justify his position. And I think I would probably agree with that. But no notice, no real explanation for why he's gone. And even more importantly than that, no replacement for him. This is a team that's on the brink of 2 months away from a brand new season with a brand new or rebranded team. Fernando Alonso coming back in. It should be a really positive time, a moment to shout about from the organisation. And yet, at least from the outside, they seem like they're in a little bit of turmoil about what the structure of the team even looks like at this point. It doesn't feel like a stable and strong way to start a new campaign, does it? Let alone a new rebranding exercise that should be huge for the organisation. Anyway, one to keep an eye on. I said this would be a short video. I lied, it's turned into a long video, but those are some major talking points that I'd love to get your input on rather in the comments. That's one of the things that I love about this channel is your engagement. It's why I love doing it. So fire me in your thoughts and comments on any of the subjects that I've covered, and I promise you I will read them. I promise you I will come back to you on the ones that require responses or that I can respond to. I will let you know about the live stream, but that's coming very, very soon. And everything else that I talked about, I will pick up on really, really soon. And I'll let you know about the podcast. Excited about that one. So keep an eye out. I've got lots to bring to you over the coming weeks and months. I'd love it if you could subscribe to the channel if you're not already. Hit the like video and tell your mates about what we're doing because I've got big, big hopes for 2021. See you soon, guys.